The courtroom trembled with silence as a young girl stood before the judge, clutching a thick file labeled evidence. Her small hands shook, but her voice, clear, brave, and filled with pain, echoed through the room. Behind her sat her father, dressed in an orange prison jumpsuit, his wrists cuffed, his eyes hollow from months of injustice. The prosecutors had called him a thief. The media branded him violent, but the girl refused to accept it. "My dad is innocent," she cried, "and I have proof." Gasps filled the room, cameras clicked, and the judge raised a hand for silence. Nobody had expected this little girl to stand against the system. What she revealed next would expose a lie so deep that the town itself would never look the same again. Wait a second, tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Her name was Leah Thompson, only 11, but with eyes that carried the weight of generations. She lived in a quiet southern town where people smiled politely but judged silently. Her father, Daniel Thompson, was a hard-working school bus driver, known for fixing old engines and giving neighborhood kids free rides when their parents couldn't afford them. But one stormy night, everything changed. A convenience store was robbed, and the clerk, an elderly white man, was injured. Witnesses claimed they saw a black man in a hoodie fleeing the scene. Hours later, police broke down Leah's front door. They dragged Daniel out in front of his crying daughter, ignoring his protests that he'd been home fixing the washing machine. The next morning, his picture was plastered across every news channel. Bus driver arrested in armed robbery. The town that once smiled at Leah now looked away. Her classmates whispered, "Her dad's a criminal." Even the school principal suggested she take time off to process, but Leah wasn't the kind to run away. Every night, she sat at her small desk, replaying every memory, every timeline, searching for anything that could prove her father's innocence. And one night, as thunder rumbled outside, she found something that changed everything. Leah remembered that her father's bus had a dash cam, one that recorded every route, every stop. If she could prove that he was driving during the robbery, it would clear him. But when she asked the police for the footage, they said it was missing. Something didn't feel right. She sneaked into the bus depot the next afternoon, her backpack heavy with determination. Inside the maintenance office, she found the old security monitor, half broken but still showing archived footage. Hours of recordings flickered before her eyes. Rainy roads, school children laughing, and then, there it was, a timestamp from the same night as the robbery. The clock read 9:47 p.m., just 2 minutes after the store was robbed, and Daniel's bus was parked miles away at the school garage. Her heart pounded. She had proof. The next morning, she rushed to the public defender's office, clutching a USB drive. But the overworked lawyer sighed. "Kid, evidence from an unsecured source won't hold in court." He didn't even look at the footage. Leah left in tears. That night, she went to the local news station. The receptionist tried to turn her away until a junior reporter noticed the file in her hands. "Evidence," it read. Leah pleaded, "Please, just watch." The footage aired the next morning, and the town exploded with debate. Some said it was fake, others said it was real. But one thing was sure, people were paying attention again. Then something unexpected happened. A retired police officer named Detective Raymond Ellis knocked on Leah's door. "Your father's case," he said, "doesn't add up. I was taken off it when I started asking questions." He showed her a copy of the original police report, which mentioned a fingerprint on the cash register that didn't match Daniel's. But that evidence had been lost in the final file. Leah's eyes filled with determination. "Then we'll find it again." Together, they dug through court archives, old files, and dusty boxes in the police evidence room. And there it was, a lab report with one line that had been crossed out. Fingerprint match. Unknown male, not Daniel Thompson. The truth was buried, but not destroyed. Leah scanned the page, printed copies, and stapled them to her evidence folder. She was ready for court. The courtroom buzzed with reporters. Cameras flashed as Leah stepped up to the stand. The judge, a stern woman with tired eyes, warned her, "Young lady, this is highly irregular. Leah opened her folder. "Your Honor," she began, her voice trembling, "this is proof that my dad didn't do it." "The real fingerprint doesn't belong to him. It belongs to someone else." The prosecutor scoffed. "This child is wasting the court's time." But Detective Ellis rose from the gallery. "She's right," he said, voice steady. "This report was hidden from the case file. I was ordered to remove it." The room erupted in murmurs. The judge demanded silence. Ellis handed over the verified report, along with the dashcam footage Leah had found. Together, they painted a story that could no longer be denied. The fingerprint matched Ryan Cooper, the store clerk's nephew, a man with a record of petty theft and drug charges. He had confessed privately to a friend weeks ago, saying he'd pinned it on someone easy. Gasps filled the courtroom. Daniel turned to his daughter, his eyes wet with pride and disbelief. For the first time in months, the chains around his wrists didn't feel so heavy. The judge's gavel struck the bench. Case dismissed. "Mr. Thompson, you are free to go." Leah burst into tears as the courtroom applauded. The system had failed, but truth for once had won. Outside the courthouse, sunlight poured over them like a blessing. Daniel knelt beside Leah, his rough hands on her shoulders. "You saved me," he whispered. "You saved us." Reporters surrounded them, asking how an 11-year-old girl uncovered the truth. But Leah didn't care for fame. She only cared that her father was free. Days later, the news story spread nationwide. Young girl exposes police cover-up in wrongful conviction case. Protesters gathered outside the station, demanding justice for all the men like Daniel who had been silenced by prejudice and power. The city's police chief resigned. Detective Ellis was reinstated. And the real culprit, Ryan Cooper, was finally arrested. Leah went back to school, but things were different now. Some kids still stared, some apologized, but most looked at her with awe. The principal who once asked her to take time off now invited her to speak at the assembly. She talked about courage, truth, and what it means to fight even when you're small. Her story became a symbol of resilience, of love, and of the unbreakable bond between a father and daughter. Years later, Leah would grow up to become a lawyer, fighting for others like her dad. But she never forgot the day she held that folder marked evidence and changed everything. Because sometimes it only takes one brave voice to make the world stop and listen. So, where are you watching this story from? Take care.